I was having a thought about something. I would say random, but it wasn't random. It was based on a movie I was watching the other day, and I had this thought afterwards, or a series of thoughts actually, after watching it. And I realized that this may make me sound a little cynical, which I'm hoping it doesn't end up being like that, but I very well could end up sounding that way. Um, but I was watching The Godfather. I watched all three of I, I watched the first and second one because obviously I've seen those a million times and I love the Godfather movies. And then I attempted to watch the third one. I think I got maybe an hour into it and I was like, this is kind of running a little slow, so this isn't really the vibe. So I turned it off. But when I finished watching that movie or those two movies, I realized that I don't know what the condition of the world is now, but because I don't really watch the news, but based off when I was watching that movie, after the feeling that I had after that is that the game of life, it's kind of rigged. I shouldn't say it's rigged. I feel there's a right and wrong way to play it, but it ultimately is going to be up to you if you choose to play along with, I guess, the standard of life that we're given and told about without, I don't know, the life that we're told exists, I don't know, non-verbally. I'm not really sure what I'm trying to say. It's almost like it's almost public knowledge, like this is the way things work. I guess that's the only way that I can describe it. So what I'm alluding to is not even the American dream situation where, everyone's talking about, well, you go to college and you get the house with the white picket fence and family and good job, and then you have a wealth of whatever. Um, I'm not even talking about the American dream. I'm talking about just the standard of living and how to be a part of society in general. When you watch The Godfather, the first one specifically, there's a moment in that movie. Spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't seen it, but there's a part in that film where Don Corleone is talking to a man named Sollozzo, and Sollozzo is bringing. He wants the Corleone family to be a part of the narcotics business. Don Corleone's character um, doesn't see that as an option given the fact that it's so dangerous, and he has his family and stuff and he doesn't want to put them in danger. That's fair, right? Anybody would feel the same way, like, no, I don't want to put my fucking family in jeopardy because narcotics is kind of a risky game to play. But that business also makes a lot of money, and Sollozzo's character, he needed the Corleones for something. I forget if it was political backing or some shit like that. I think it was that, or police protection, because I think the Don had like a lot of law enforcement on his side or some shit like that. I don't remember which one of those it was, but Don Corleone did not want to do that, and Sollozzo was like, "Oh man, we need it though." But we need it though. So fast forward during the movie, and basically they put a hit on Sollozzo's people put a hit out on Corleone because they're trying to intimidate him into doing business with them because they really need whatever services he has under his belt. So then I'm thinking, in real life, you know what? It's kind of like that, isn't it? Because you have a divide in the world. I don't know if it's quite 50-50 specifically, but you have the good people and you have the bad people, good versus evil. How many times have you heard about, some sketchy characters in politics in the real world, and crooked cops and this, that, and the third, and rich folk doing this, that, the third, excuse me, doing this, that, and the third, and getting away with it at the end of the day because they have money. How many things can excuse me, so sorry, can these people at the top get away with all these things just because they have money? And how many things, do they get involved with just to make tons of dollars? And how many unsavory things do they do? Like, we don't even know half the things that go on behind the door. I mean, even in the regular world, not even talking about just celebrities, there's drug dealers and the cartels. Like, that's what I'm saying. But the point I'm trying to make is their lives are great. Yes, they do risky things and they do terrible things, and they have backing that the regular person doesn't have, and the connections that a regular person doesn't have. But they seem to keep winning, right? It doesn't matter how many terrible things it seems I should say, it seems like it doesn't matter how many terrible things that they're involved in, and if they wipe this person off the face of the earth and they make deals and connections with these people, it kind of seems unjust. It seems like they win anyway. They have tons of money, they have great connections with people, they have excuse me, they have this, that, and the third, they have tons of friends, they have they have all these things, these luxuries that the regular person doesn't have. So that's what I was thinking. I was like, hey, damn, that kind of sucks, doesn't it? That seems kind of unfair, that bad, doing bad and being a bad person is rewarded ultimately, because that's where that divide I was thinking came into. Like, how many terrible people are there versus good people? At times when you watch the news, I'm sure, or whatever you get your news from or information from, it seems that evil outweighs the good in the world. So what I'm saying is, how many good people will literally give up their morals and belief because they don't see the same results as the bad people? Like, how many people will give up their integrity and morals just to win, in a sense? That's what that movie made me think about. Is that too deep? Sure. Is that a little too deep? Yeah, probably. I probably shouldn't have let my mind go down that rabbit hole of good versus evil, ultimately. But that alone makes it a little difficult to be in this world for a lot of people, I'm sure, because, I like myself specifically, I like to think do good and make the right decisions that won't hurt other people, and have the right boundaries in place to make sure I'm okay. Sure. But do I see some unfair, unjust situations where, like, that person really shouldn't have that, but they do because they know the right people and rub elbows with the right people at the end of the day? Yeah, sometimes I feel like that. But I think I would rather have my integrity in check, than to sit in the winning circle, so to speak, and do all of these terrible things and be a bad person and be selfish and this, that, and the third. So I think that movie brought something out in me, brought a thought out in me, and I'm sure a lot of people have felt like, oh, how come it's like this? Well, I don't know how to answer that, but I do know that it does exist. I don't know how much of that exists nowadays, but if you want to know how things work, well, a little bit, if you want to know how things work, watch The Godfather Part 1 and Part 2, because it'll give you a sneak peek in how certain things go, whether that's intimidation, crime, organized crime. Like, it doesn't tell you everything because obviously it's a movie, but it'll give you a little insight in how things work when you're sitting in certain circles. And it made me feel some type of way, but I don't think I'm going to change and become cynical just because the world, in the game of life, it doesn't work the way I thought it would work, you know? So I think that's pretty much it. All I had today, like the spiel that I had. But I guess my only advice is, if anybody ends up watching this, I should say, you don't have to do bad to get good things. And then, with the Corleone situation, intimidation definitely does happen, but, your values come first. And I definitely agree with that part when it came to the Don situation. But yeah, that's it.